How to be less anxious in dating or relationships without pretending to be chill. I know, it's really hard to not be like, I want to be the cool guy or girl. I don't have any needs. It's totally okay. Because you want to seem, what, low maintenance, easygoing, chill. But inside, you're fucking spiraling, you're overthinking every text, and you're scared you'll say something wrong. Well, the reality is this isn't just a dating problem. It shows up in your relationships too. So, how do you stop performing and start feeling secure without pretending to be someone that you're not? Well, that is the journey that I was on for the last fucking 8 years, because I was her. I was always trying to be the girl like, I don't have any needs. It's cool, whatever. You want to go out late? Cool, we'll go out late. You want to do this? I'm down, whatever you want to do. Instead of taking up space and saying, well, wait a minute, that doesn't fucking work for me. Because oftentimes we have to look that anxiety is a messenger. It's telling you something. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how anxiety shows up in dating and in your relationships, and why faking chill is just self-abandonment and what actually helps you feel better. Well, feel safe enough to be real, whether you've known them 2 weeks or 2 fucking years. And guys, this came up a lot in my inbox after a recent podcast episode. So if you want to dive in deeper, check out the Sabrina Zohar show. It is on YouTube. You can watch all the episodes, or you can see linked below in Spotify. Okay, let's talk about the root of the anxiety. So here's an example. Let's say you don't hear from them for a few hours and you start to spiral. Or your partner seems a bit off at dinner, and instead of just having a fucking conversation or asking what's going on, you start to panic and you start to wonder, what did I do wrong? So what's actually happening in your brain at that part is we have a part of our brain called the default mode network. And so that's the DMN. The DMN is the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused externally. So it loops on thoughts, especially past, future fears and self-doubt and all of those. So if you've ever laid in bed replaying conversations or predicting rejection, that's your default mode network was running the show. And then we have something called the salience network. And the salience network, it detects what's important, especially emotionally charged info. So how does that all loop together? When you're anxious, it starts flagging every text or delay or shift in tone like a threat. And the reality is, like, your brain isn't trying to fucking sabotage you. It's trying to protect you. But protection is often wired by trauma, and that often looks like anxiety, and that is the baseline. And that's where we have to stop. And my favorite question to ask is like, how old do I feel in these moments? Does this feel familiar? Does this feel like a pattern? I don't want to hear this bullshit of like, no, what? Yes, no. If you're freaking out because the person that you're dating maybe seems off, then this is not your first rodeo. This is not the first time you felt this. It's okay to say, yeah, okay, I don't think I'm seeing things clearly. I think that I'm seeing this through a lens of the past. That's okay. Or again, how old do I feel? I feel like I'm fucking 7. Okay, well, if I feel like I'm 7, then that means I'm not coming at this like the adult. I am the child. Okay, well, that's the first step. Then we have to look and say, when you try to fake chill, you're self-abandoning. So your partner seems weird, and instead of you're like, I don't want to be too much, so I'm just going to not say anything. Or you want to ask someone where you stand or tell them how you feel, but you convince yourself that doing that's going to scare them away. Or you avoid bringing up conflict because you don't want to be seen as like too much. And that right there is your core belief. That's your core belief. And that's where I would ask, who taught you that? Who taught you that having a need makes you too much? Who taught you? And then it's okay if you're like, wow, a caregiver or somebody in my childhood, or it's not about villainizing your childhood. This isn't about making your parents out to be the worst people. It's about understanding, this behavior taught me that. Okay, now how can I support myself? So a tool that you could use is check your motive. Am I doing this to keep the peace or to stay connected to myself? Because oftentimes anxious people often people please. It's their way of trying to control the outcome, but often they people please their way into resentment because it's not fucking sustainable and it's not a real connection. And I used to be guilty of that. Anytime I was dating somebody, especially in my 20s, I never wanted to say what it is that I actually wanted or needed from them, because I was always saying, no, I'm going to be too much. I'm going to be too needy. Nobody wants that. They're not going to show up for me like that. And what ended up happening, because I started to go on that loop, my salience network was like, oh, okay, so this is what they're looking. She's looking for somebody that's not going to show up for her. She's looking for somebody because that's familiar. That's the pattern that she's on. That's where she's living. And so it kept finding men that were always reaffirming there's something wrong with me. And really what it was it was my picker. It was who I was dating. It wasn't that I was doing this to myself. It was protection. If I could date people that reaffirm my core beliefs, if I consistently went for emotionally unavailable people, that would reaffirm to me that there's something wrong with me. The secondary gains of that are that I can stay in my shit. I can say my shit. I can stay in my narrative that I'm the problem. It's all me. No one loves me. No one likes me. No one's ever going to choose me. And in staying in that, I'm the victim. I'm the one that, woe is me. I have no control. I have no choices. And it's not conscious. I'm not saying anybody's doing this on purpose. You're not doing this to hurt yourself. But we do have to be really cognizant and aware of where our brain goes. And if you actually want to be less anxious, then we need to do quite a lot of things, but we also need to do thought pattern interrupting and really focus on our fucking nervous system. And that could be preemptive nervous system work. That looks like breath work or movement or something that can help you, right? Like if your system is already jacked up, no conversation is going to land. You got to regulate before you reach out to people. And so if somebody's acting strange, somebody pulled away, somebody triggered you with something, don't go and write and say something. That's reacting versus responding. That means give yourself a fucking minute. Give yourself a space to be like, wow, how does that feel in my body? Not great. Don't love it. Okay. That's all right. I could breathe into it. Or maybe I can go for a walk before I call somebody. We've all been there. Oh, I've done this a million times where like you'll get an email and you're like seeing fucking red. You want to shoot somebody. You want to rip their fucking head off. And then maybe in like a day or two you reread it and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, because it came through the lens of pain and hurt and rejection, but not actually seeing it for what it was. So if I regulate and I come back to now, I'm not scared that this tiger is going to abandon me. I'm not scared that I'm being run after something. I'm not in fight or flight. I'm more in a ventral state. And what I am is I'm using my prefrontal cortex. I've turned decision-making on in common sense so I can come at this like an adult. Another tool that you could use is called name the pattern. So start to ask yourself, this is an old wound, not a current emotion. Well, that's not really asking yourself. I can tell yourself that. And that is the default mode network awareness. So it's saying that this is a thought loop. This is not the truth. By when you do that, you activate your prefrontal cortex. You get out of your lizard brain and you come back online. Wait a minute, I'm not seeing this right. My friend's a meditation teacher and he always said, think about it like water. When you put dirt in water, it's all over. You're not going to see through. But when the dirt settles and you finally see, then you can actually see through the fucking water. And now the third tool, I want you to practice brave communication. Instead of over-explaining or hinting, I want you to try, hey, I noticed I felt a little anxious today when I didn't hear from you. You did nothing wrong. It's just something I'm learning to name instead of letting it spiral. How fucking beautiful is that? How incredible is that to be able to connect your partner? And if your partner doesn't hold space for you, why is that your partner? And this is exactly the stuff I walk you through in my course. So how to actually build the tools to stay regulated, grounded, and fucking real, whether you're in early dating or 5 years deep. It's not about being chill. It's about connecting to yourself. And we have the foundation course for that, or the nervous system course if you're really struggling with, especially the texting and dating and early dating. But guys, being less anxious in love doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means learning to hold your emotions without handing them to someone else to fucking fix. And whether you're dating or you're in a relationship, that's what builds a secure connection. I would not be happy with my partner or secure or fulfilled with my partner if I expected him to fix everything. We can have a moment. I could get triggered. And instead of me just automatically being like, my partner's an asshole, fuck this guy, I stop and say, whoa, that happened. My partner said no to me one day. Nothing wrong with someone saying no. I saw it as my dad. My dad was dismissing me. That's how he would just say no and walk off and walk off. And instead of freaking out and doing all this, I stopped, I regulated, I took a few deep breaths and I said, hey babe, can I just share something with you? When you said no, I shut down. That triggered me and it reminded me of my dad. You didn't do anything wrong. I just wanted to say, moving forward, instead of just saying no, could you say this? And he was like, absolutely. He was like, I'm so sorry. You're right. I didn't even realize that I just had been flippant with you. Thank you for letting me know. 100%. Because when you tell your partner what it is that you actually need, you give them the space and the freedom and the agency to fucking satisfy it and not read your mind. And I understand your anxiety might be, no, not it might be, your anxiety is lying to you. That's literally the merch I fucking made because I wanted that reminder. Don't believe everything you think and your anxiety is lying to you. Specifically because it is. Because it's bullshit. And stop lying to yourself. Guys, if you are ready to stop faking it and start building real emotional safety, check out the foundation course. And for deeper convos on all of this, the Sabrina Zohar Show is where I talk about it all unfiltered on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or right here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for sitting with me. And until next time.